Hello, guys. I'm not much into boxing, but these are two champs, two former legends, Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. I know this is an exhibition, eight-round battle between these two, but it's interesting. To me, at least, it's very, very interesting. And got to say, Roy Jones Jr. versus Mike Tyson is very, very fun. Very, very fun. So, all right. Mike is returning to boxing to fight Roy Jones Jr. Heavyweight fight with oversized gloves. The intent is to not score a knockout. All right. There will be no knockout, but this is more like a fantasy prediction because I would like to look at them in their primes, and Mike Tyson, man, he was the most powerful striker ever in the history of boxing, greatest knockout artist. When I just look at his score, man, he was turning the lights out on literally everybody. When I remember that first round knockout against Clifford Etienne and his wonderful knockouts against Bruno Matthysse Jr., Bruce Seldon, man, Henry Tillman. Even in the early stages of his career, I remember his fabulous KO against Michael Spinks. He was a legend of his time. He fought to a score of 37-0. He was only 23 years and 21 days old when he was undefeated. Mike kicked off his boxing career very early on at 18 years, so it was great. It was great, man. It was fantastic. The other side, Roy Jones Jr. was also champ and medalist at Olympic Games in Seoul. He continued pushing his career, and Roy Jones Jr. is actually the guy who fought in so many title matches, so many title fights, and the only guy who really taught him a lesson was Joe Calzaghe, especially in that fight when I've seen Joe Calzaghe ducking under him, irritating him with his amazing maneuvers. Joe Calzaghe was pushing his head under Roy Jones Jr. head, and on the other side, Roy Jones Jr. was also a knockout artist of his weight division, of course. Not many of his fights went to unanimous decision, especially in the later stages of his career, but I still remember that fight against Felix Trinidad. It was a hell of a fight. I mean, he was not that dominant like Mike Tyson, but yeah, I say it was a very, very fun fight to watch. So yeah, I know this is exhibition fight, but if they fought in their primes, of course Mike Tyson would pull out a win, especially that ducking under and left hook was his specialty. On the other side, Roy Jones Jr. was too fast. He was too fast. When they start trading blows, Roy Jones Jr. was even 2 times faster. But on the other side, Mike Tyson, man, he was a powerful puncher. He was a powerful dude, and Mike Tyson was really putting on a show. He was giving everything he had, and that was the way to go. So if this was a real fight, of course, I would say Mike Tyson would pull out the win. But it's an exhibition fight, no intention of scoring a knockout. So kind of hard to say who's gonna win, man. In that case, it's gonna be Roy Jones Jr. probably because he's faster. But anyway, Mike Tyson is stronger, and of course, I would bet on Mike Tyson as he fought in heavier weight class. But of course, you never know. I mean, believe it or not, they are pretty much the same size, which is so weird, man. But it's gonna be a good fight, September 12th. I will watch it if I don't have obligations at my work. But we're gonna see which way is it going to go.